Welcome to Andy Staples On3. Great show for you tonight. We got Shane Beamer, the head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. He's got an update on a 5-star recruit who just started practicing with the team that when you hear how much this dude weighs and then realize how fast he is, your jaw is going to drop. We got that in a few minutes. Later, Dan Rubenstein of the Solid Verbal joins us. We are going to play a new game. It's called Whose Team Is It Anyway? How well do you know the players who entered the transfer portal and came out the other side? Probably not as well as you think. This game was hard, and we could have made it a lot harder, but it was a lot of fun. We'll have that for you later in the show as well. Not a lot of huge earth-shattering news in college football today, which, given the past few weeks, feels like a bit of a breather. No conferences have remade themselves. It doesn't seem at the moment like any giant move is imminent, which that's probably good. Probably needs to calm down a little bit. The biggest news was the T-shirts, apparently, that the Northwestern coaches wore to practice. Cats Against the World with Pat Fitzgerald's number 51. That's the number he wore as a Northwestern player on the shirt. And it caused a bunch of stories to be written, bunch of controversy. The university athletic director, Derek Gragg, came out with a statement, which it's funny because Derek Gragg, we barely heard a peep from him for about 3 weeks when all this stuff was unfolding, the hazing allegations, Pat Fitzgerald being fired, everything else. But they wore some T-shirts in support of Pat Fitzgerald. He said, "I'm extremely disappointed that a few members of our football program staff decided to wear Cats Against the World T-shirts. Neither I nor the university was aware they owned or would wear these shirts today. The shirts are inappropriate, offensive, and tone deaf. Let me be crystal clear. Hazing has no place at Northwestern, and we are committed to do whatever is necessary to address hazing-related issues, including thoroughly investigating any incidents or allegations of hazing or other misconduct." Translation: we're getting sued like crazy. Please don't do that. Now, David Braun, for lack of a better term, poor schlep who has to deal with all this stuff. He was North Dakota State's defensive coordinator last year. Now he's here, and he's the interim coach. Oh, by the way, his wife just had a baby. He got asked about this, and I like his response. He said, "I'm not going to dive into it. It certainly isn't my business to censor anyone's free speech." That's probably the right attitude for Braun to have in the situation he's in. As for the coaches, the players, anybody who is throwing on those shirts, you might want to consider one thing just before you do it, because I'm with Coach Braun on this. You're allowed to feel however you want to feel about what has happened. And if you want to support the guy you think has been wrong, then absolutely. But before you do, again, just think about this. You are a 1-11 team that apparently likes to do a lot of weird naked stuff. Is your culture really that great? Is it really something you need to defend and celebrate? Just a thought. When we come back, South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer joins. He's got an update on 5-star Nyckoles Harbor. You're not going to believe it. We'll be right back. We are joined now by South Carolina head coach Shane Beamer. And, Coach, we can't talk about any specifics involving recruiting, but I did text you the other day. You seem to really enjoy the DMV, Washington, D.C. area, and I'm curious if this is a prelude to running for office. I don't know if you're just shuttling back and forth to get some experience in case there's a Senate running coming up.
Yeah, well, I'm up there a lot. I certainly making a lot of connections. I do love politics, but between coaching in the SEC and politics, I think when I'm done coaching, I think that'll be time for me to retire and run off into the sunset.
I think you could handle it though. Like you do have that state. Well, maybe we won't get too political on this show, but that statesman-esque quality where you could probably unite sides of the aisle if you needed to. I think you might be able to do that.
I would like to think so. There's a lot of correlation between athletics and politics, I guess, and dealing with people and all that. And I've been up there in January recruiting Nyckoles Harbor, and then back in June we had an NIL summit day up on Capitol Hill. So that was really cool for me as a guy that loves history. but then also enjoys politics, to be in the U.S. Capitol and have a chance to meet with people and walk the halls. And you think about all the history in those in D.C. in those areas. It was really cool. So who knows?
We'll talk about it later when you need a comms director. It's no problem. But I will ask, you mentioned Nyckoles Harbor. I was going to wait till the end of the interview, but I know there's a bunch of recruit nicks because I work for On3 now. So I know there's a bunch of recruit nicks that are excited to hear about what does this gentleman actually look like in pads on a college practice field.
He's eye-opening without a doubt from just a physical stature standpoint. Take the speed out of it, just his height. I mean, the guy's 243 pounds at today as we record this, and has size, has athleticism. He's a great kid, great young man. I mean, he works really, really hard. Football is important to him. Sometimes when I was telling him, and I told the team this the other day, showed it in a team meeting. I mean, he's got toughness. And, sometimes when you bring a guy out that's also quote unquote a track guy, all they want to do is just run fast and not deal with the physicality that football is. And not him. He likes the physical part of it. He's got a competitive spirit to him, and awesome young man that works really, really hard. I'm excited he's with us.
As his recruitment went along, how did the evolution of his position change in your mind? And or was it him driving that, or was it you guys kind of saying, wait, you might fit better here?
Yeah, a little bit of both. When we first time I ever saw him, I was coaching at Oklahoma, and I was in Archbishop Carroll, his high school. And we were recruiting Anton Harrison, who ended up signing with Oklahoma and just got drafted into the NFL. And I remember Robert Harris, the coach there at the time, I was sitting in his office, and he's like, "Hey, I know you're here to see Anton, but I got to show you this video of this freshman I got." And it was a video of Nick running track. And I remember sitting in the office thinking, "Oh my God, this guy plays football." And then he pointed him out to me in the hall, and he looked basically like he does now. And that was the first time I ever saw Nyckoles Harbor, and just knew, you know what, he's whatever he wants to be. And then we get to Carolina and start recruiting him. June of 21, I guess, is when the COVID dead period ended, and recruits were able to get on campus. And he came down here with his high school coach. And early on, it was going to be, we were recruiting him as a defensive end. All with that size and strength and speed and athleticism, he could do that, and he could. I still believe that. But then as it went on, he decided he wanted to play offense. So at that point, we started talking to him about offense, and naturally you start thinking about tight end. And then as it goes, it's one of those, okay, this guy's 240 plus pounds and is a world-class sprinter. Do we really want him half the time blocking SEC defensive ends or cutting off the backside on an inside zone play? And he's got toughness. He would do that. And then it just kind of evolved to, we're better off. Let's just get him out in space, use his athleticism and his speed. And that's what's best for him. And then for us as a team as well. But then it was a group effort too, because Sterling Lucas, who coaches our defensive ends, Sterling was connected with him because he was initially going to be a defensive end. So Sterling continued to build that bond. And then Justin Stepp, our wide receivers coach, and Jody Wright, our tight ends coach, they got involved because Nyckoles was going to become an offensive player. So I feel like every coach on the staff, except maybe the O-line coach and the D-line coach, were involved in his recruitment.
Well, and it's just one of those coaching small world things too. I was listening to Trey Knox, your tight end transfer from Arkansas, and everyone's asking him questions about Dow Loggins, your new offensive coordinator who came from Arkansas and was his position coach there. And he's like, no, guys, I knew Coach Stepp first.
Yeah.
So yeah. It is amazing how much cross-pollination there is.
No, it really is. And it just goes to show in recruiting, you develop relationships. And nowadays, probably more than ever, it's prevalent, Andy, with just the transfer portal. Like, if you lose a guy initially in recruiting and he goes to another college, I mean, you don't want to end on bad terms. And we don't. A guy goes somewhere else, we wish him well, but it's more prevalent than ever because there's a chance that, down the road with the way coaches change, the transfer portal being prevalent, that it may all circle back and you may be reconnected with that guy. But yeah, when we first hired Dow and Justin was already on the staff, but I can remember we were down in Fort Lauderdale in December out recruiting, and that was when Trey Knox first went in the portal, and we were getting ready to do a home visit with a wide receiver, defensive back down in Fort Lauderdale. And before we went in the house, I got on the phone with Trey, and it really resonated with me. Obviously, what a great young man he is, but he had the connection with Dow, but then Justin was with me. And then to hear those two guys talk like they had just seen each other the day before because of the bond they built in recruiting was pretty cool.
We'll be right back with more from South Carolina coach Shane Beamer. But first, I want to tell you about BirdDogs. You've heard me talk about living your most efficient life in BirdDogs shorts. There's a picture of me in my tight wads that have the built-in liner. No need to buy or wash underwear ever again. They can take me from the bar to the golf course, to the pool, to wherever life might bring me. But what about the top? What about the tarp? What are we doing about that? Well, BirdDogs also now makes polos. That's right. This beauty right here is the Fidel Bass Pro. They've also got the Galileo Ravioli, the hand polo. Oh yeah, they like their puns at BirdDogs. But the point is, now you can go into places that say no shirt, no shoes, no service wearing BirdDogs because you had your shorts on, but you were going tarp off. Now you can go tarp on with BirdDogs. Go to birddogs.com/Andy or use the promo code Andy. You get this amazing hat so you can go shorts, upper torso, and head, all covered by BirdDogs. birddogs.com/Andy, promo code Andy. And it probably makes that recruitment much easier. It would seem to be that if you don't have some pre-established relationship, once some dude hits the portal, you may be out of luck.
No, there's no doubt, because every school in America is, if Andy Staples is a great player and he goes in the portal, within 2 hours, you got everybody in the country after you. You're naturally, I think, going to go maybe where you have some natural built-in relationships already. And the other thing too with that is because of those relationships, they can trust that coach. So for example, if Justin Stepp works here at South Carolina and wants what's best for our program, but he's also got a relationship with Trey where if he tells Trey Knox, look, this Shane Beamer guy that you don't know, here's what he's really like, and here's what this program is like, and it's not fake and things like that. Being able to, have those conversations with players, certainly it's an advantage when that happens. We've benefited from it, and then we've lost guys that were in the portal that maybe we wanted that we didn't get because of a relationship he had with another coach somewhere.
So switching gears to guys who never went in the portal, I want to ask about another one of your offensive weapons, DK Joyner, year 6 in the program, 3rd different position. He's at running back now. He started as a quarterback, then a receiver. Yeah. Brief cameo at quarterback again in a bowl game, and now he's playing running back. Yeah. How did that conversation go?
Yeah, it was one of those, in the last 2 seasons, we've lost multiple running backs out of our program, whether it be after my first year, Kevin Harris and Zaquandre White left early for the NFL. And then last season, we had some guys that decided to transfer. So the depth in that running back room was not what it needed to be. And we were going into spring practice this past spring with Juju McDowell was a scholarship running back returning, and Mario Anderson was a transfer running back from Newberry that we had just brought in on scholarship. And those were our only 2 scholarship tight ends that we had in the program. Scholarship running backs that we had in the program. So initially it was, we got to get some running backs to be able to just get through spring practice. And then when you look at DK, he's a big, thick receiver at the time. And you look at his body type, he looks like a running back in a lot of ways. But then for me, Andy, it was going back, and we've used him in a wildcat quarterback role over the last couple of seasons. You alluded to the bowl game where he was a quarterback. But if you go back and watch the Tennessee game, he scored a couple touchdowns in that game as a wildcat quarterback, where he showed really natural running skills. There was a play where we just ran like a downhill run for a touchdown where he had to lower his shoulder and get north-south and scored. And then there was another play we ran like a little bit of a zone read type scheme, and he had to make somebody miss out in space and then get it in the end zone. So I knew he had the ability, so I brought him in my office before spring practice and just said, look, here's where we are at running back. We know you can play receiver. You going through 15 practices in the spring, yeah, that's going to help you, but we know what you can do there. You're a smart guy. This is going to help our football team and help you. If you want to just, we didn't even talk about doing it 100% in the spring. It was really just, let's just take some days out of spring practice, out of our 15 practices. Let's take, I don't know, 5 or 6 where you work as a running back just so you get some experience. And then he got in there, and probably 1 or 2 days in, I think he felt at home. And he's never, not once since then, has he come to me and said, when am I going back to receiver? He embraced it, has done a great job. And it's really a natural, great position for him and for our football team this season, and then for his future as well.
What does it say about a guy like that? Because, usually when the quarterback doesn't win the job, they're gone.
Yep.
But he has found ways to stay over and over again.
Yeah. To me, it says what a fantastic, just human being he is. How unselfish. I mean, he is, if not the leader of our team, he is one of the top leaders of our team. There's no doubt about it. And then the other thing I think it says is that he loves South Carolina. And honestly, after the way he played in the bowl game 2 years ago against North Carolina when he was our quarterback, he had other schools that were, let's be honest, tampering with him, trying to get him to come play for their college as a quarterback. And, he and I met about it and wanted to talk about him and what was best for his future. And at the end of the day, he's like, Coach, I love South Carolina. I grew up here. I don't want to play anywhere else. I've invested too much time in this program, and I want to finish what I started here at Carolina. And then, went into last season thinking that it could be his last year. And then for him to decide to come back for another year has only made him better and made our team better. But what a example for not just our players, but players all across the country. And, a guy that hung in there and dealt with some adversity. But to me, his best football is still in front of him.
So you brought up that Duke's Mayo Bowl against North Carolina. You will play North Carolina again in that stadium to open the season. College game day is going to be there. Drake May, Mac Brown, everybody. But the most important question, will it be easier to coach this game knowing there's no chance someone will dump mayo on your head?
I'll probably be more focused and tunnel vision on the game, because in that bowl game, there was always the thought in the back of my mind, every time as it got closer to the end of the game, oh, shoot, if we're about to win this game and I got a mayo bath coming my way. So the anxiety you felt throughout the game, that won't be there, but the intensity and the urgency, it'll be an awesome night in Charlotte, but no mayo, thankfully.
I was going to say, thanks to DK Joyner, you actually took a decent lead early, so that mayo was probably in the back of your mind for quite some time.
Yeah, it was early. They had Sam Howell in an explosive offense, and we had to play. We got off to a good start and had to play really well in the second half. But as the game went on, I can vividly remember being on the sidelines with about 4 minutes left in the game, thinking, you know what, me agreeing to this mayo bath seemed like a pretty good idea like a month ago when they asked me, but now it's like reality.
Yeah, it's like whatever for the cause. Wait, what? I have to do this now? Yeah. So you and I have a person in our history where we learned quite a few things from. So I want to ask you this. You coached with Steve Spurrier when he was at South Carolina. That was your first time around. And I'm watching you guys recruit, and it feels very similar to that last time that you were there together, where you were getting all kinds of talent and really building that program into something special. What did you learn from working with Steve Spurrier?
A lot. That was like, there were reasons I wanted to take this job at South Carolina when I left Mississippi State from a personal standpoint, but just from a professional standpoint, the opportunity to come here and learn from a guy like Steve Spurrier, who won an ACC championship at Duke and won 7 SEC championships, I think, at Florida.
I believe it's 8 because he counts the 1991 when they were first, but not eligible to win it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Sorry, Coach Spurrier, 8 as well. So it was a great experience for me as a young coach to learn to get that opportunity. A couple of things stand out. One, I really saw how a team will take on the personality of their coach, and the way the swagger, confidence, whatever you want to call it, that Coach Spurrier carried himself with. To me, a lot of our players and our team kind of took on that mentality in a lot of ways. And then the other thing is just, it was good for me as a young coach just to see that work-life balance that he had. That at the end of the day, you better have good players and coach them up, as he likes to say. But you better have good players. But get good players in here, coach them up, develop them. But you can also, you don't have to be up here from 5 a.m. until midnight sleeping in the office. And I haven't, but I saw him in the spring during spring practice play golf 3-4 times a week. In the months of March and April during spring ball, where you've got that good balance. And to me, you and your assistant coaches, you need that because this profession is a grind. So those are probably the two biggest things, just the personality that he had, how it resonates with your players, that confidence. And then it was good for me to see that work-life balance that he had.
And one more before I let you go. You've exceeded expectations the first couple of years in this job. They keep growing. How do you deal with that? How do you address that with your players?
Yeah, it's different because 2 years ago, it's funny. We this morning I had to record a bunch of radio ads and television commercials for sponsors and things like that. And the list of people that want to work with Gamecock football and be corporate sponsors has grown in the last 2 years.
Yep.
And it's a byproduct of winning. And so you kind of realize that there's more eyes on you, more people want to be associated with you. But because 2 years ago, there weren't expectations. There were people that said the ceiling for this team was 2 wins, and we won 7. And then last year we won 8. For me, Andy, I want to be at a place with high expectations, and we have high expectations for ourselves. You don't listen to so much of that. We weren't listening to them 2 years ago when they didn't think we were very good, and we're not listening to them right now when there are expectations for us. And I know it's cliche, but it's true. We just worry about ourselves, try and be better tomorrow than we were today, and maximize the potential of the 2023 team, and get to the end of the season, and hopefully we've gotten better as the year went on, and we have maximized our potential. But we embrace the expectations. We want that. We want high expectations, but also realizing that we have a lot of work to do. Yes, we won 8 games last season and did a lot of things for the first time, but there's a lot that we need to improve for us to be able to take the next step also.
Great lesson. Never listen to those media guys. Love it. It's perfect. Thank you, Shane.
Unless they're like the experts like yourself.
Yeah, just me. Nobody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, Shane.
You got it. Thank you.
Big news in the uniform world on Wednesday night. FIU announced its FIU Vice uniforms. And if there is a cooler alternate uniform this season, I want to see it. Look, if you're Penn State, if you're Auburn, you don't mess with your uniforms. They're perfect. The tradition is amazing. If you're FIU, have some fun with it. And if you're going to pay homage to Miami Vice, do it with a neon Lamborghini, which is what they did. And my sources at FIU tell me that basically their video shoot started with somebody new going, "Hey, I got a guy that can get us a Lamborghini," which is about the most Miami sentence that's ever been uttered. Look at these magnificent uniforms. These are glorious. And I know what you're saying, but it's not classic. It's pink. No, it's Miami. Now, the U has its own classic uniform, but if you're FIU, then you got to work harder. And this is doing it right here. So Scott Carr, the athletic director, Dan Forcella, the associate athletic director, they came from UCF. They like those Citronaut uniforms they did there. But these, I got to say, as much as I like the Citronaut UCF uniforms, these are even better. You got palm trees. You got 305. You got bright colors. And, of course, you got a Lamborghini. If you're going to announce a new uniform in Miami, you do it with a Lamborghini. FIU UTEP, October 11th, ESPN2. I'll be watching. When we come back, we're going to play the new game show that is sweeping the nation. Whose team is it anyway? Dan Rubenstein from the Solid Verbal joins us. How well do you know what came out of the transfer portal this offseason? Are you sure you know where everybody is now that camp has started? I guarantee you don't. This game is outstanding. It's fun. We're going to have to play it a few more times before games start. We'll be right back. We are joined now by the great Dan Rubenstein, pioneer of college football podcasting from the Solid Verbal Podcast. Hi, Dan.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
It's great. Now, Dan, I've always felt like you missed your calling. You should have been a game show host.
Yeah.
And you have brought me on board for multiple game shows throughout the years on your show.
Yes.
Most recently, Sark Tank, which was brilliant. You and Ty Hildebrand did a tremendous job producing that episode.
Thank you. First of all, it's not too late. I just turned 40, so I have time. You've seen the 10 years of like Pat Sajak hosting Wheel of Fortune for however 40 years or something. So I have time. The other thing is, I don't know if people, I mean, I've mentioned this numerous times, but I will be the only game show contestant, the only college football game show contestant with actual multi-time game show contestant, real game show contestant experience.
Well, you know, I also have game show contestant experience.
Yeah, I mean, you were a singled out champion, were you not?
I was on MTV in the era when Singled Out was on, but I was on Idiot Savants, short-lived MTV game show. There were 3 contestants, and I finished 3rd.
So was this
didn't go well?
Who hosted this? This is not Jon Stewart.
I cannot remember who hosted Idiot Savants. I have to go look at that. But it was Panama City Beach in 1997 is when we filmed it. There was a tryout. They did tryouts on various campuses within driving distance of Panama City. And so I came through the UF heat, the UF tryout, and wound up on Idiot Savants and was doing well. I was actually in the lead. And then they had this segment or a category where they had a model in a skin tight kind of human anatomy outfit.
Yeah.
And she would point somewhere and you had to explain where she was pointing. And
I had something very similar on my game show, weirdly enough. Yeah. It was
which game show?
Cutout. It was Pick Your Brain. It was my face in a cardboard cutout. Or excuse me, it was my mom's face in a cardboard cutout. She stood behind it and I would be told a body part and I had to like put a Velcro thyroid or whatever where it is on the body. I did pretty good, not great.
Well, funny you mentioned thyroid. My downfall, where it all started going downhill for me, was saying pituitary when I meant thyroid.
Oh, and yeah. I kept putting the thyroid on the thigh. But I was 9 years old.
Oh, well, see, I was 18. I had no excuses. I also misheard the Beck lyric, bottles and cans, and just clap your hands, and just clap your hands. Got that wrong from where it's at. So not the greatest game show experience for me, but I also had a lot of friends who helped me prep because growing up middle school, high school in Orlando, there were so many classmates who had been on some version of Double Dare.
Yes. People don't understand. I mean, I think it's the Orlando area is the same way. If you grow up in Los Angeles as well, I got game show audition flyers in my school cubby, right? They need to fill these spots. So a bunch of my friends and I would go on game shows. And the one I just mentioned, I think I won a $5,000 savings bond when I was 9 or 10 years old. So yeah, that's just how it operates.
It was quite an economy, but I'm disappointed. I should have won that game. It's been eating at me for a long time. And that's why I've created this game show. We are both host and contestant in this game show because I figure that you're the better game show host of the two of us, but I do want to break into this industry if I can. And I would like to also show off and see if I can beat you. I'm not sure I can in this game, but I think this is one that everybody's going to get something out of.
Okay.
And we're probably going to play it annually. We'll probably play, and we may play it a couple more times before the season starts. But this game is called Whose Team Is It Anyway? And it is in honor of the transfer portal. You and I were talking before we started recording about just not even realizing where some guys were until about 4 days ago. The season starts in a couple of weeks. We need to know where everybody's playing. So what we're going to do is I'll name a player and you must name. Here's the catch. If they've gone to multiple schools, you got to name them all.
Oh, God. Okay.
So, but you've got to name where they were and where they are. And you're going to do the same for me. If we're each going to do 5 players. I've got a longer list in case we've got to go to a tiebreaker round or
It's
anything
only
like
active players, right? Like I'm not going to need to
Yes.
remember where Sam McGuffey ended
This is
up.
people who moved this offseason and Sam
Okay.
McGuffey, in case you're scoring at home, that would be Michigan to Rice.
Right.
So
Okay.
there you go. But the game is whose team is it anyway?
Okay.
Get ready, Dan. We're about to play. Maybe you're a former 5-star who couldn't find the field at your first school. Or maybe you blew up in the FCS or Division II and want to take your talents to the Power 5. Or maybe you just got a sweet NIL deal and always wanted to drive a G-Wagon. No matter the reason, you fell into the transfer portal and now you're somewhere else. We have to remember where you're playing, and you know what that means? It's time for another game of Whose Team Is It Anyway? Okay, so here we go. Whose team is it anyway? 5 rounds.
Okay.
I'll name a player. You name where they were before and where they are now. These are all people who transferred this offseason.
Okay.
So I'm going to start you with an easy/tricky one.
Oh, this is just setting me up for failure. My disclaimer is I will pre-tell everybody I'm an idiot. And so if I get something right, it goes against it. So okay, let's go.
We're going to get them wrong here. This is the thing. We're explaining how hard this is to keep up with.
Mhm.
And if you're a casual fan just coming in going, okay, I'm ready. Let's get me ready for college football season. A lot of this is going to be news to you. So here we go. You ready, Dan?
Yes.
Quarterback JT Daniels.
Okay. That was a nice soft takeoff.
Mm-hmm. But name the schools.
All of them.
All of them.
Full path. JT Daniels started his career. He enrolled early at USC, then Georgia, then West Virginia, and has now touched down at the now aforementioned Rice University Owls.
That's correct.
Boom.
1 point for Dan Rubenstein. And now the pressure is on me. Dan, who's your first player?
Okay. My first player to you. Ooh, there's a lot of good ones here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think this is, well, I think that I was thinking of a medium one. I'm gonna give you a soft takeoff as well. Let's go with Dante Cephas.
Dante Cephas.
I like how you're saying it like a spelling bee.
Kent State to Penn State.
Correct. Absolutely
Yes.
correct. And by
Yes.
the way, you can, any of the MAC schools are a really nice first guess. Because a lot of guys leave MAC schools in
Yes.
the offseason. Yeah.
All right, let us move. I'm going to give you another easy one.
Okay.
Before I really start trying to stump you. This guy you should be fairly familiar with.
Okay.
Linebacker Justin Flowe.
Justin Flowe from the University of Oregon
Mm-hmm.
to, with his brother, the University of Arizona.
That is correct. Former 5-star Justin Flowe, recruited by everybody in
Yes.
the country. Injuries derailed his career at Oregon, but he's now with Jed Fish at Arizona. And this is one of those, Dan, I don't know how you feel about this, but the guys who were mega recruits and then it doesn't work out somewhere, there's always that hope that they're just going to blow up at the next place.
Yes. No, there's always that hope because it's just you talk yourself into a fresh start. You talk yourself into, well, they were sort of misused. They were in the wrong position at this school, or like it was just off because the depth chart was wrong or the position coach who recruited him left. And he needs that right place. And in some cases, totally true. In some cases, Justin Flowe could not really cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. Yeah.
Right. And so we will see if that's a case of he just misevaluated or in the wrong scheme or injuries derailed it. We'll
Totally.
find out. All right, Dan, what is your next player?
All right. I'm going to stick thematically because receiver is one of the more fun plug-and-play positions in the portal that, you know, if you can beat corners one place, you can probably beat a bunch of corners in another place, and everybody's going wide open. Their offenses, everybody needs receivers. A.D. Mitchell.
A.D. Mitchell, last seen catching a touchdown pass, and I believe he caught one he definitely caught one against Alabama in the national championship game. I believe he caught one against TCU, but he is headed to the University of Texas.
Correct.
He will be a target of Quinn Ewers, and that was a case where, I think people thought, well, what's going on here, Georgia? But Georgia also, and I don't know if these are your guys either, but Dominic Lovett from Missouri, who was probably Missouri's best receiver last year, went to Georgia, and then Ra Thomas, who was Mississippi State's best receiver last year, went to Georgia. So for AD Mitchell, it was a kind of a fight for getting some balls thrown to him.
That's true. And Texas has a bunch of good receivers.
Yeah,
but
Xavier Worthy, Jatavian Sanders, a tight end.
And Isaiah Nair is the one.
Yes, a Wyoming
back.
Transfer from last year.
Yeah, he tore his ACL, so he should be healthy this year, I believe, at the time of recording. So there really is no excuse for Quinn Ewers with a great offensive line in front of him, what should be good running backs and a bunch of good receivers. Are you ready for my next item?
It's my turn to give.
Oh, sorry. I did AD Mitchell. Yeah. Please.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. This is one of my favorite ones, and I realize we've gone mostly skill guys here, but that's okay. This is one. Those of you who like to watch football on the weekdays, who like to maybe put a little action on the games, you'll know this guy. But do you know where he wound up? Running back Carson Steele.
Again, you're very good just looking at the MAC as the starting point here. Okay, I believe this is Ball State to UCLA.
Yes, that is correct.
I sometimes get Ball State and Miami of Ohio. Apologies to both of those schools because I think they're both red and black. I guess
and birds
and birds
as their mascots. Yes, they are bird teams. Carson Steele has a pet alligator. I find that amazing. And now he's from Indiana. He's from suburban Indianapolis. I think the pet alligator is back at home, but he does have one. And I'd love to see where you put that in the. He's probably not in the dorms at UCLA. He's probably in some apartment.
Drive an alligator cross country from suburban Indiana to Westwood.
I think he stays at home. Crocky J is the alligator's name.
Crocky J, which is it an alligator or is it a crocodile? Do you name an alligator?
Well, I mean, he's a crocodilian. I mean, that's
right. The other thing,
the family crocodile.
That's true.
So
the other thing confusing about Carson Steele is UCLA also has a transfer named Colin Schlee
from Kent State.
The MAC. Yes. Like it's very confusing for when you are a slow person like myself. So
well, Carson Steele was a battering ram.
Yes.
At Ball State, but is faster than people realize, and so I'm interested because he could play kind of the Zach Charbonnet role for UCLA this year, and I think that could be a lot of fun. All right, so 3 for 3 for you. I have to keep pace.
That's true. I'm going to make this slightly more difficult.
Okay.
Now I'm going to stay with a bigger school theme. Okay. Because you start dipping into like deep conference USA.
Yeah, if you're going group of 5 to group of 5, or you're hurting it.
Yeah, that's just tough. It is just tough because it doesn't always make the headlines. But I'm going to go with a larger human, Power 5 to Power 5.
Okay,
Ladarius Henderson.
Ladarius Henderson had to start as a 17-year-old.
Yes.
At Arizona State against grown-ass men from Utah and Oregon and you name it. He will now be a wily, savvy veteran on the offensive line at Michigan.
This is true. Perhaps the deepest and best offensive line in the country. Multiple-time Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line. The only thing that is confusing to me and relatable to me is leaving a warm West Coast place for the Midwest is not a move you see a lot.
Yeah.
But I myself, growing up in Southern California, now living in the Chicago suburbs. Ladarius, if you want to come over.
It's not uncommon. And Ladarius is from the Dallas area originally. So
true.
Yeah. This is it was one of those moves because I feel like Michigan has done a great job identifying offensive linemen in the transfer portal when they need to do a plug-and-play situation. Olu Oluwatimi coming from Virginia last year was a great addition to their team. And it sounds like he's doing great. And I believe he's with the Seahawks right now. That was a big pickup for them and exactly what they needed. So maybe Ladarius is that guy for them this year. Holy cow, we're both 3 for 3. Somebody's got to miss
good.
a question here. All right, here's one. I don't think this guy is much of a household name now, but I think as the season goes on and the draft buzz starts to build, I think we're going to learn a little bit more about him.
Okay.
Edge rusher Steve Linton.
Edge rusher Steve Linton. I don't think I have this.
This is a tough one. This is a tough one. So Steve Linton.
You can see my hands. I'm not Googling. I'm not doing anything.
No Googling. So I will give you some time.
Yeah.
Let the music play.
I'm in the surrender cobra pose right now as I try to scroll through random tweets and headlines in my head.
I'll give you a hint. Power 5 to Power 5.
Steve Linton sounds like the bass player for Pearl Jam.
Yes.
I'm going to say Power 5 to Power 5. Maryland to Florida State.
No. Steve Linton has gone from Syracuse to Texas Tech. And so Texas Tech looking for somebody on the edge to replace Tyree Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a guy, if you listen to like Jim Nagy from the Senior Bowl, Steve Linton is somebody that we are going to be talking a lot about when the season starts because he can come screaming off the edge. The way they want to use him in Texas Tech's defense might showcase his skill set a little bit better. And so this is one that could be a lot of fun. Keep your eye on him. All right. So let's see if I can take the lead here because we were tied before this round began. So can I take the lead?
All right. I'm going to protect my competitive nature here and go a little bit trickier, but it does involve a Power 5 school. Ajani Cornelius.
Oh,
Ajani, I believe it's Ajani.
Oh no. I am completely blanking on this.
Ajani Cornelius. Are you giving up?
I'm not giving up yet.
Okay.
I'll take one hint like I gave you on the last one.
So what was the hint that you gave me?
I gave you Power 5 to Power 5.
This is FCS to
Power
Power 5. It's jumping over the group of 5.
Yes. Oh man. Okay.
Well, and I think you said edge rusher too. I'll give you a position. You gave.
Oh yeah. I have to give a position. Yes.
Yes. Offensive tackle.
Oh, that's right. He's the offensive tackle. He is Rhode Island to. Where did he go?
You got the hard part.
Yes. Rhode Island to. Oh, where did he wind up? Oh no.
I'll even give
Nebraska?
I'll give you a sub clue. I'll give you another clue.
Okay.
Offensive lineman, Power 5, and the offensive line coach who recruited him subsequently left shortly thereafter.
Notre Dame?
Oregon Ducks.
Oh, Adrian left to the NFL. You're right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Man, that was tough.
It's a tough one. That is probably the deepest down I will reach.
So I will give you a hint before I give you your final name. We are now tied again.
Stump each other. Yeah.
Because this is a similar situation.
Oh no. Okay.
But not FCS.
Okay.
To Power 5. It is Division 2 to Power 5.
Oh.
This would be the Austin Reed move. Actually, Austin Reed was Division 2 to Group of 5 last year. So this is tight end Kyle Morlock.
Tight end Kyle Morlock. Okay, I've seen this name, and because he was Division 2, I don't remember the name of the Division 2 program. I just remember seeing him. I will give you a hint. He went to a Power 5 school that has become well known for taking people out of the transfer portal and making them stars. Taking people out of the transfer portal, making them stars. It's an educated. Is it Ole Miss?
It is not Ole Miss.
Ah!
I will give you one more guess as to the Power 5 school, but I don't think you'll get the Division 2 school. So,
I remember the Division 2 school being a school I had never even, that wasn't even the vicinity.
You've probably never
heard of.
Most of our viewers / listeners have probably never heard of this place.
Right. What is Arkansas?
No. It is. And now, interestingly enough, the D2 school he comes from is in Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Shorter College.
Shorter College. Yep.
Is the school he played for.
Nothing.
Kyle Morlock is now at Florida State. Now, the bigger headline tight end transferring to Florida State was Jaheim Bell transferring from South Carolina. But they like Kyle Morlock. They think he can do some stuff for him this year. And so, yeah, Florida State, which Jared Verse was the guy last year from Albany, the edge rusher. He's back this year. Jermaine Johnson came from Georgia and became the ACC Player of the Year in a first-round pick a couple of years ago. So the Seminoles, great in the portal, great at IDing, and then figuring out how they work within their own system.
Well, it's what? Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, Fentrell Cypress this year at corner from Virginia. I actually thought about I wanted to avoid Florida schools with you because that's just, it's too close.
It's hard with Florida State because there's so many transfers. It's hard to keep track of. But true. Yeah, they have quite a few. But man, is it that one? That's the one. If it blows up, just crown Mike Norvell king of the portal. If
he doesn't get the credit that Lane gets, like there is something portal king-ish about Mike Norvell that I don't know if he necessarily is as well known as he should be for the success he's had there.
All right. If I get this one, I win. Otherwise, we got to go to a tiebreaker.
Okay. I want to go somewhere interesting with this, difficult with this. All right. This next player's first name, which I'm going to tell you, or his full name, sounds like he was a baseball manager in 1994.
Okay.
Ray Davis. Did Ray Davis coach the Reds? Who's to say?
What position does Ray Davis play?
Ray Davis is a running back.
This sounds like that movie, The Replacement, the pseudonym they made for the guy they got out of prison.
Yes.
I think his name was like Chuck Smith or like Ray Smith or something like that. So Ray Davis.
Ray Davis was the third base coach for the Pirates in their heyday. Yeah.
He's a running back?
A running back, Ray Davis. And this is Power 5 to Power 5.
Ray Davis. I gotta say, I am completely stumped.
Completely blank. And not only, I'll give you the conference.
Okay.
It's the Southeastern Conference, the SEC.
Within.
Means more. Within. School to school.
Oh, so he went early. Okay. Man. I'm going to say Arkansas to Mississippi State.
Not a bad guess, but neither of those schools is correct.
Oh, no.
I believe Ray Davis was Vanderbilt's leading rusher last year.
That's right.
He's transferring into Kentucky, who loses Kvassier Smoke.
Kvassier Smoke.
Yes. Chris.
Chris Rodriguez in the draft.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they lose both of those running backs last year, but Kvassier Smoke to the portal and Chris to the.
So we gotta go to a tiebreaker round, Dan.
Okay.
I had a feeling this might happen.
I'm gonna Power 5 to Power 5. I thought you were gonna nail it.
Okay, so let's make it where these have to be Power 5 to Power 5.
Okay, fair.
Because we do want this game to end at some point. Correct. So, all right, I will give you one. Let's see. Offensive tackle.
Oh no.
Michael Tarquin.
Oh, hold on. I can actually see his face. I know the name. I'm totally blanking. Michael Tarquin from.
There is a familial connection by marriage to the new school.
Oh, I was going to say from you.
No.
Michael Tarquin, familiar marriage. Minnesota to Tennessee.
He went from Florida to USC. He was Florida's starting left tackle. He will be USC's starting left tackle. His wife is the daughter of former USC star Tony Baselli, who was a great Jacksonville Jaguar. And that's how, so they met in Florida, but he's going to his father-in-law's alma mater, I believe, wearing his father-in-law's number.
Wow.
At USC. So that's a fun. All right. If I can get this one, I win. Who you got?
I just like this name a lot, and I've read it for the past 3 years in both good and bad context. Dwight McGlothern.
Okay. He's a multi-transfer guy, right?
Believe so.
LSU to Arkansas. Am I right?
Yes.
So okay. And where is he now?
Oh, it was last year. Let's scratch that. It was
last I got it right. He did what
you did.
I was like, right. he left Arkansas. Isn't he still playing in Arkansas?
I actually couldn't get it. Before you did yours, I was gonna do Dorian Singer, but you had a USC arrival, so I scratched that one. Okay.
Arizona to USC. I can get that one.
Okay. Austin Stogner.
Austin Stogner. So that would be Oklahoma to South Carolina back to Oklahoma.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
Yes. All right. Yes, Austin Stogner, the person who incepted the idea of South Carolina trying to get Spencer Rattler as a transfer, then went over, and now he's going to finish his career where it started in Norman. That's very impressive, Dan. That was a tough one.
It was almost like he was the vehicle that brings the plane to the runway and then goes back to retreat. Like he was the vehicle for Spencer Rattler.
Or the plane that used to piggyback, the space shuttle used to piggyback on when it came back from California.
Yes, correct.
That is wow. That was a lot of fun.
That was great. You can't even study for this. Like you really can't. No. It's like studying for the SATs. Like it's great that you looked up every word, but you got to be able to perform.
Well, that one, like when you said Austin Stogner, and even when you know it, there's this inkling in the back of your head that you're wrong. I was like, oh, that's the tight end from Oklahoma to South Carolina, and then he went back, and I'm like, but what if I'm complete? What if this guy played at Oklahoma State and now he's going to Utah? Like, how am I going to miss this?
Who are and Stogner was the first one I thought of. I was trying to think of the returning transfers, guys who left and came back. There haven't been a lot, but there have been some. I feel like
I was going to give you not a returning transfer, but another multi-school guy.
Okay,
I was going to throw Keaton Slovis at you. I figure that's a fairly easy one.
That's tough, but yeah, he ended up at BYU via Pitt and USC.
That's correct. Yeah.
I guess Liam Cohen would technically count. New old offensive coordinator.
Transferred to the LA Rams and transferred back.
Correct. There's Jeff Tedford who left and came back. You have a lot of the coaches doing that they rehire this guy because they're trying to recapture magic. But yeah, you don't see it as much with players. Stetson Bennett technically counts.
Yes.
He transferring away to JUCO and came back to Georgia. But yeah, this is, you know what, I was thinking about this, and I don't know if there's more to this game. But I was thinking about the game, and it's the portal and following players and following coaches and following schools and conferences. It makes college football kind of impossible to be a fan of in a casual way. Like you really have to dive in if you want to understand the sport.
Well, I you know where I stole this from is all the NFL shows, because they've done this for years where they come back, because you have the diehards that are following this stuff religiously all season and all off season, but most people have jobs. They got stuff to do.
Yes.
And so they'll come back when training camp begins and be like, oh, that guy's there and that guy's there. And so your Good Morning Footballs and your shows like that will give you a new face, new place feature to kind of highlight who's new and what they can do in the new team. But with college football, there's so much movement.
Yes.
But and I was thinking about, we barely even scratched the surface. Like I had Trayshawn Ward on my list. Trayshawn Ward, Florida State fans know who that is. ACC people know who that is.
Kansas State?
He's going to Kansas State behind an offensive line that has Cooper Beebe, who might be the best interior lineman in the country, and 3 other 6th-year seniors who have been multi-year starters on that offense. Like Trayshawn Ward is going to run for a ton of yards this year.
Yeah.
So,
no, there are those opportunities that seem like perfect fits, but the idea, especially when you talk about the NFL or the NBA, at least hypothetically, those guys have been around 6, 7, 8, 9 years.
Right.
Like, oh, this like cagey veteran is now with the Ravens or something. But with college, you're skipping around so much. I've followed the NFL casually and as a diehard, not as a diehard anymore, for the entirety of my life where I could watch and take in football. I still don't know what dead money is. right? There's the NFL equivalent of like red shirting and gray shirting and blue shirting and like suspension.
Dead money is the player's not on your team anymore, but he still counts toward your cap.
Right. Yeah, that's what my brain sort of figured out. But like, I still don't understand, like, but he's making this much, but his cap hit is this, right? That there's the details of being an NFL fan that are just different.
Well, get ready. College football may be headed that way too.
I know.
So.
Yes, I do. But I was thinking about this with how difficult it can be to be a sports fan and trying to explain things to my wife who's into college football. She went to Michigan, but she will sometimes listen to, when she's bored, a like celebrity gossip podcast where they're outlining why this person has tension with this person because it goes back to this thing when they were both on this show. And I realized college football is just Bravo for sports dorks. Like it's all the same thing.
Right.
Exactly right. All these details that unless you are following along with like, oh, Deshaun Jackson just went to Cal because everybody thought he was going to go to USC. Like, cool that there's so many tiny details and there is connective tissue to both what I am saying to your game.
Yes.
Do you have a clue what that connective tissue between Bravo and college football might be?
The host named Andy.
There's a host named Andy. Yes, that's good. That's my ding. But also, I want to say the DB's coach of Utah.
Yes.
As a Real Housewife husband.
Yes.
Who this is just me overhearing. I think his wife might now be incarcerated for something.
Might be. There was an issue.
And he just was able to secure one of the more coveted cornerbacks in the transfer portal. Miles Battle from Ole Miss is now
Sharif Shah is the coach you're talking about.
Sharif Shah is the coach.
Jen Shah is the Real Housewife in question.
Yes, and Miles Battle, I want to say, is the cornerback's name, who was especially good 2 years ago. I don't know what kind of year he had last year, but he is going to be stepping in for Clark Phillips, I think, was the corner who was terrific for the Utes.
Unfortunately, just got hurt in training camp and is out for his rookie season. So, but yeah, so yes, it is all interconnected.
It's all connected.
What a game, Dan! I feel like we need to bring on some other friend, like my friend Max Olson over at the Athletic. We call him the transfer or the portal authority. I feel like he could get almost all of these. Like I'd have to go to the real hard stuff. Like I'd have to throw like Andrew Armstrong at him. That's the Texas A&M Commerce to Arkansas wide receiver transfer. So, Max would be like, oh, what you guys did was too easy.
Do you think he would have gone, 12 for 12 or whatever?
Yes, I do. And so I think I would have to do, how regular Jeopardy, you can get a certain number of questions, but then when the Tournament of Champions starts, you can't get any. We'd have to give Max Ken Jennings level Tournament of Champions questions.
Where he's answering questions exclusively about the equivalent of medieval art or deep Old Testament knowledge, like stuff that is just not at the tip of everybody's tongue.
Yes, that is right. So this has gotten me more excited, though, because some of these new faces, like Carson Steele, I loved watching on Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see him at UCLA.
He's going to be great. And there's a lot of like really strong fits, right? Some of these don't always make sense. Like he's going there. And then you get the weird stories. Who is the North Carolina, is it Tez?
Yeah,
Johnson?
well, he got denied his waiver request. Yeah.
Right. So you have the weirds because he went to a school that didn't end up
North
playing.
Carolina Central.
Yes.
They canceled their season, so he went to Kent State, and then he transferred to North Carolina, and because that's his second transfer, they're like, nah.
Right. So you get like that kind of weirdness, and sometimes when you go to like the portal pages, you're like, yes, this player has left Oklahoma State for question. You're just like, oh, okay, so they're just sort of stuck in the portal. And so you get that.
You don't want to get lost in the transfer. It's sort of like being in the quantum realm.
Correct.
If you're a Marvel person.
Yeah, this is a strong game. It's tough because if you're not paying attention on June 30th, if you're not paying attention on March 18th, if you're not and this is our jobs, but even still, it's the SATs all over again for me.
That's exactly right. It's been fun. We'll probably have to play this again once or twice before the season starts, and we shall see what happens. But when we come back, we bid an early farewell to an AD who's done it and seen it all and announced his retirement on Wednesday. We'll be right back. On today's Extra Point, we wish good luck to Gene Smith, who is going to retire as the athletic director at Ohio State at the end of this school year. He announced that on Wednesday, talked about all the changes that have happened since he's been Ohio State's AD. Some big changes just happened last week. He will be leaving ahead of the new and expanded Big Ten that adds USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. But he also leaves behind a very big legacy at Ohio State. This department is in a really good spot as Gene Smith leaves. It is the envy of college sports. And this is a place where a whole lot of people are going to want that job, including probably some folks who come off of Gene Smith's tree who've done a very good job in their own right as athletic directors. You got Heather Lyke at Pittsburgh. You've got Pat Chun at Washington State. You got Martin Jarman at UCLA. This is one of those jobs that everybody wants, and whoever takes it will have some very big shoes to fill.
And that's, I've always wanted to leave a place better than I found it. But I also want to leave a place that when the next person comes in, gives them a chance to transition in as smooth as possible. And they now have that ability with this team. And it always wasn't that way. We've been unstable a little bit. And so now it's a situation where I feel they'll come in, they'll make changes. They will, based on their style, but they should be able to come in and take their time on the learning curve and allow the team to work, and then they ultimately will make the changes they need to make.
That video courtesy of our friends at Letterman Row. Gene Smith seems very content with his decision, and he's done a very good job. He talked about the times that he regretted the 2011 tattoo gate that ended in Jim Tressel basically being pushed out, the dealing with Urban Meyer and Zach Smith in 2018. But on the whole, if you look at his tenure, it has been remarkably successful, and Ohio State is in a great place as he leaves it, basically the envy of the entire industry. So good luck to Gene Smith, and good luck to everybody trying to get one of the most coveted jobs in all of college sports. When we come back tomorrow, we got the most interesting man in college football, Charlotte coach Biff Poggi. If all you know about him is that clip from the American Media Days where he's mad about only getting 3 questions, you're about to learn an awful lot. We'll talk to you tomorrow.